All right, let me show you how to solve a quadratic equation by factoring. So here's a pretty complicated quadratic equation. 90 minus 16x squared equals 52x. So, obviously it's going to factor. I wouldn't give it to you, but let's see if we can figure it out. And of course, if it doesn't factor, you can solve it with a quadratic formula. So, I'll show you how to do that also. And you should practice that. So let's start by put it in descending order, and I want the leading term to be positive. So I'm going to take all these terms over to this side of the equation. So I'm going to make it 0 is going to equal positive 16x squared. So when it goes across the equal sign, it changes sign. So negative 16x squared becomes positive. It's going to be a positive 52x and a minus 90. So it's in descending order, the biggest exponent first, then the next biggest, and then finally a number by itself at the end. Step 1 is going to be factor out common factors. So the common factor here is going to be 2. And then I'm going to get 8x squared plus 26x minus 45. If there's a negative leading term, we would factor out a negative number to make that leading term positive. There's nothing else that's going to factor out of this. So now we're going to try the x method. And again, you could do the quadratic equation, of course, always, or completing the square. But I think this factors, so I'm going to try to do that. Start by multiplying the first and last coefficient together. So 8 times 45 is 360. It'll be negative because this term is negative. And on the bottom, I put the middle term, which is positive 26. So that goes on the bottom. Okay, so I multiply these two numbers together to get the top number. And then I just put the middle number on the bottom. Now, I'm looking for two numbers that are going to multiply to a negative 360 and add to 26. So because this is negative, it's going to have to be a positive and negative. And because it's a positive 26 down here, the positive number is going to be bigger. So it'd be like positive 30 and negative 4 would add to 26. I don't think they multiply to 360. All right, here's what I'm going to type into my calculator. I'm going to type in 360, and this is guess and check. So you don't have to write this down, but I'll write it down to show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to write 360, and I have to guess a number bigger than 26, so maybe I'll guess 36. And actually, I know that's going to work, isn't it? Because 360 divided by 36 is going to be 10. 36 take away 10 is going to equal positive 26. So my first guess, I got it right. That happens sometimes. I was lucky. Now, this is a critical step. Make sure you don't forget to do this. You're going to write down two parentheses, and you're going to write down 8x twice. So you know that's not right, but you're going to start by writing 8x down two places, here and here. So both parentheses. The other number goes at the end of the parentheses. This is going to be a positive 36. This is going to be a negative 10. And then you divide both parentheses by the biggest number that divides both of these numbers evenly. You got to remember to do this step or you won't get it right. So here the biggest number that divides 8 and 10 evenly is going to be 2. The biggest number that divides 8 and 36 evenly is going to be a 4. Notice these two numbers here always multiply to these numbers here. So we wrote down 8 twice, and then we divided by 8 to put it back the way it's supposed to be. And our answer there is going to be how this factors. So 8 divided by 4 is going to be 2x. 36 divided by 4 is going to be 9. Keep the sign the same. Here, 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4x. 10 divided by 2 is going to be 5. So our factored equation looks like this. 2 times 2x plus 9, parentheses, times parentheses 4x minus 5. That's going to equal 0. So since these two things are multiplied together and equal 0, that means both of them, one or the other of those parentheses, has to equal 0. So we split the problem up into two smaller problems. 2x plus 9 equals 0, or 4x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, so we take one big quadratic equation, we break it into two simpler linear equations that we can solve. So you solve both of these. I take the 9 over, it becomes negative. I divide by 2, and x is going to equal negative 9/2 or negative 4.5 seconds. Okay, negative 4.5. Here I take the 5 over, it becomes positive. I divide by 4, and I get x equals 5/4. Which is 1.25. Okay, so two answers, negative 4.5 and positive 1.25. And I'll usually have you check one of them. I think I'll check the negative. So I'm going to check negative 4.5. You're going to do this on your calculator. I want it in the original equation, so 90 minus 16x squared. And I want to see if that really does equal 52 times x, which is negative 4.5. You don't have to show me this step, but that's what you're going to put in your calculator. So here on the left side, I'm going to go 90 minus 16 times 4.5 squared. And I know 4.5 squared is going to be positive, so I'm not going to put the negative in there. I'm just going to go 4.5 squared. And that turns out to be negative 234. So that's what I write down here. Negative 234 is what this side of the equation equals, the original equation, don't change it, with negative 4.5 plugged in. Now over here on the right-hand side, it's a little bit easier. I just go 52 times negative 4.5, and I get negative 234. So that is a good check. And you could check the other number if you wanted, but you don't really need to. If you got this one right, I'm going to be satisfied and say you probably got that one right also. So that's how you solve quadratic equations by factoring. Make sure you know how to do that x method, because that's a lot of people forget this little step in here where you write the 8x down twice and divide by the biggest number that goes into both of them. So you got to show me all the steps if you want credit on that. Thanks very much.